Donald Trump pushes ahead with his ceasefire plan in Gaza. Reports say Israeli strikes killed at least 29 Palestinians this Saturday, and that is one of the highest tolls since the October ceasefire agreement was reached. This latest violence also coming just a day before the border crossing in Rafah is set to reopen. For more, let's speak to our correspondent, Noga Tarnopolsky. She joins us from Jerusalem. Hello to you, Noga. What more do we know about this Saturday's attacks in Gaza?
Well, first is nobody denies the deadliness of it, and the Israeli army's explanation is double but unverified. So for now, we have from the Israeli army that the strike was a retaliation against what it calls a blatant violation of the ceasefire conditions. Yesterday, a cell of Hamas fighters did emerge from a tunnel with the aim of trying to kill Israeli soldiers. They were unsuccessful, but the effort to perpetrate this operation or this attack by Hamas did take place. And the second thing that the Israeli army has said to explain this very high death toll in the last 24 hours is that it was and continuing to destroy Hamas infrastructure. It is important to remember that this explanation, continuing to destroy Hamas infrastructure, remains a valid justification for Israeli military strikes in Gaza under the terms of the ceasefire. So this is not necessarily a violation. That said, the Israeli army has provided for now zero evidence that there was terror infrastructure in these places that have been bombed. And also, it's important to say, Hamas is an urban terror group that implanted itself intentionally and deeply in urban areas. So one of the problems with this ongoing ceasefire, non-ceasefire situation is that almost any place in Gaza can credibly said to contain terror infrastructure, and that's because a terror group ruled Gaza almost with no challenge for the last 17 years. And that's the situation we're in now. So these types of strikes and possibly these types of efforts by Hamas will very likely continue, even if the United States does succeed in moving the two parties towards phase 2 of this attack, as they say they're planning to do.
Yeah, Noga, let's talk about Sunday. On paper, tomorrow at least should be a significant day. It marks the first major step in that second phase of the ceasefire. The Rafah border crossing due to reopen, limited at first. What conditions, though, have been attached?
Right, enormous conditions. And let's also remember that opening the Rafah border crossing, which is a border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, so not a border crossing that physically touches on Israeli territory, though, of course, it has had a huge impact on Israel because at different points in the last many years, Rafah has been a main point of smuggling goods into Gaza, and those have, of course, impacted Israel. That said, Israel was supposed to have opened the Rafah border crossing in phase 1, just like Hamas was supposed to have released all of Israeli hostages within the first 72 hours. Neither side completely held to its part of the bargain. But this announcement, the fourth by Israel, that tomorrow Rafah will open, of course, is being taken much more seriously. That said, as you just indicated, Israel has imposed conditions on this opening that make it more or less a symbolic opening. Israel says that it will open on both sides, as Egypt demanded, but that only 150 people per day will be allowed to cross in total, that Israel will have to check out each and every one of them individually through Egyptian border control. So Egypt will get the name and data about an individual, let's say, that will be transferred to Israel, to the security services. They will have to check out this person. That means that every individual crossing through it could take several days for that individual to get permission. The ability for anyone to enter Gaza from Egypt is limited to people who previous to the war lived in Gaza. And again, the same checks. Plus, Israel says that it's going to open a kind of mirror border crossing right next to Rafah. And so Israel may say that Rafah is open, but actually oblige anyone wanting to cross through to go through its alternate, let's call it Rafah B border crossing, in which case the first one would become moot. So right now, it seems to me that this is a symbolic opening, that Israel is at least saying it will abide by the terms of the Trump ceasefire. But until we don't see General Jeffers or other senior Americans on site truly imposing this, until we don't see another Israeli promise that the Palestinian Technocratic Governing Committee can actually enter Gaza and begin to take over power, until concrete steps aren't taken, I don't think we should expect too much from this announcement about a Rafah border crossing opening.